Nowadays it's easy to create photo skins for artificial environments, but for non-photorealistic rendering, not so much. Especially if you need a lot of BNPR models to fill a huge stage, you will have a hard time finding models that have a matching style. My little short film project, for example, plays on a junkyard for vehicles and machinery. On Sketchfab I came across a fellow 3D artist named RenaFox. He has awesome 3D scanned models of old rusty cars, which was exactly what I was looking for. There was only one problem. 3D scans are messy. It's essentially a technique where a bunch of cameras try to guess based on a picture and some depth information what an object looks like. That is then broken down further by splitting it into a mesh and a texture. Sometimes it can happen that attributes that belong to the texture are attributed to the mesh and vice versa. Only together will mesh and texture produce the right result. For a BNPR project, a clean mesh and a simple texture are key. So exactly the opposite of what a 3D scan offers. To demonstrate the cleanup, I'm going to bring in this air compressor model by RenaFox, link in the video description. This one didn't have a material, so I'll Frankenstein one together really quick. Luckily the compressor came with some textures. I'll throw the Toon-shader out for now and use an emission one. I'll keep the node for the vertex color since that will become important later. Doesn't look bad, right? Let's see what happens if we render. The result here looks atrocious. First, there is lighting information baked into the new textures. And second, the noisy 3D scanned mesh throws off the outliner, which leads to these artifacts here. To fix this, I'm going to first clean up the mesh. What helps a lot already is to just shade everything smooth. As you can see, the line art is a lot less noisy now, but there are still artifacts since 3D scanned meshes have a very high density. So for further cleanup, I will switch into edit mode first. And I forgot to activate my screencast keys, so let me do that real quick. Okay, looking good. Where was I? Ah yes, even zoomed in the mesh still looks very noisy. To fix this, there is this thing called the Smooth tool. So with all the vertices selected, I can use this yellow marker here to apply the effect. The number in the top right shows how strong the mesh will be smoothed. This number is a factor, so if it goes above 1 or below 0, the mesh will become more noisy instead. To make the smoothing stronger, you need to use this repeat value here. In my case, 5 repeats should be enough. So let's see how it looks. Looks way better already, but there are still some artifacts. To fix those, I'll go ahead and decimate the mesh. In one of my previous videos I have shown how to do this via modifiers. This time I'm going to do it via the mesh menu in edit mode. It actually helps if you set the view to wireframe to make sure no details are lost. Via the ratio you can then define how strong the decimation is. The lower the value, the stronger the effect. I'll go with a 0.1 ratio here, so let's see how it looks. Nice, now we have reached a point where it becomes hard to see where the last few artifacts are. So the next thing I'll do is to take out the texture. That is why I kept the vertex color node in the shader. On more modern versions of Blender this may be called the color attribute instead. I'll keep calling it vertex color since that is what I've originally learned. I'll choose a relatively neutral color here. You may choose whatever you want. Now that all color is gone, we can see better where the last few artifacts are. In areas of high detail, like this vent here, It looks quite good, but the top here needs some more work. To get a better idea of the final line art, I'll set my viewport to a flat color and enable cavities, since cavities are the basis for the line art. I will run one last smooth operation to get rid of the last few artifacts. Looking good. The next problem are the lines. They look kind of fuzzy. Unfortunately, there is no easier way to fix this than manual sculpting. By pressing the E key in sculpt mode, we can set the stroke method. I'm choosing line here. That means the brush is acting like any line drawing tool in any 2D drawing program. Then I'm going to select the pinch tool. You could also use the crease tool or anything you like really, as long as it gives you the desired result. Now with the pinch tool in line mode, I'll go over any line that I think needs sharpening. So roll the time lapse. And we are back. With the line art sorted out, I want to focus on the colors next. The original texture has all of this lighting information baked in. Since the UV maps are also auto-generated, we unfortunately have no other choice than to repaint the entire model. You can do this either via vertex painting or via texture painting, of course. For this model here, I'm choosing vertex painting. Before I start painting, I'll grab a few colors from the original texture. To do so, I'll set the viewport to flat shading again. Then in the side panel under Tool, Brush Settings, Color Palettes, I create a new palette. And by holding down the S key and clicking with my pen or mouse, I can add the colors to the palette. Next, I'll hook up the vertex color again and start painting. Now as a quick tip, if you keep the texture inside the material, you can then switch to texture mode to reference the original texture. Now this is not a tutorial on texture or vertex painting, so I'll skip quickly through this and show the result in the end. I think this video is long enough as it is. Now the final result doesn't look perfect, but it is a lot more suited for BNPR projects now. Leave a comment if you think this was helpful. I thank you for watching and until next time, bye!